It's Tuesday, which means this is our first edition of Top 10 Tuesday. And what better way to get into it than by giving you a little insight into my favorite movies. So let's get into it. Welcome to Silver Screen Talk. My name is Luke LaPointe. I started this channel because movies are a big part of my life, and I want to talk about them with people who care about them as much as I do. With that, remember to hit that like and subscribe button, and most importantly, I want to hear you down in that comment section. If you know how to leave a comment, make sure you do. And also, as we are talking about our personal favorite movie list, let me know what your top 10 favorite movies are. If there are any on my list that you agree with, any on my list that you totally disagree with, I would love to hear from you. And with that, let's get into it. This is a list of my top 10 favorite movies. And before we get into it, I want to give a little honorable mention to Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. While it might not be as good as the 10 movies on this list, it certainly holds a special spot in my heart. But let's get into the real top 10. At number 10, we have Aliens, the sci-fi action horror epic from James Cameron, the sequel to the 1979 classic Alien. Now, this is probably one of the greatest sequels, if not the greatest sequel of all time, expanding on the universe that was created in Ridley Scott's 1979 classic and bringing it to a more epic scale. Taking it from just a horror movie to a war action movie was a great choice. As always, we had some absolutely legendary performances, whether it be Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, and some great supporting performances from guys like Bill Paxton, Jeanette Goldstein, Paul Reiser, the man who played Bishop. I always forget his name, Michael something, but the man who played Bishop. So we had a lot of great legendary performances, some absolutely iconic moments, some quotes that will live in the annals of film history forever.
Get away from her, you bitch!
We have some incredible, beautiful, yet horrifying imagery in this movie. The mix of practical effects, puppetry, CGI brought the xenomorph to life and made it more horrifying than the original movie. In addition, you had some amazing action set pieces with the enlargement of this scale of the movie, as well as just a more fleshed out world. So it sits at number 10 for me. At number 9, we have Shaun of the Dead. Now, this is a film that I love a lot. I love the entire Cornetto trilogy, and it is a film that introduced a lot of people to Edgar Wright, and as well the incredible duo of Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright. The amount Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, the amount of chemistry that they have on screen, the amount that they feed off each other, that just work together so comedically. They do it so well in this movie. They have some incredible comedy. Literally every joke hits, and it's so funny. It never gets stale. You have a great supporting cast. You have some kind of fun little cameos thrown in there, whether it be Bill Nighy or Lily Martin Freeman for 5 seconds, but you notice it, as well as incredible filmmaking by Edgar Wright. As always, he is one of my favorite directors out there. That'll be another Top 10 Tuesday we'll do, is Top 10 directors, but he's an incredible director. The way he shoots, the subtlety he uses in his filmmaking, and the way he cleverly uses foreshadowing is unlike any other, and it is very apparent in this movie, and it's used very well. In addition, there's some very funny action set pieces like that in the pub with Queen going on. There's a lot to love in this movie, and that's why it sits at number 9 for me. At number 8, we have John Wick, which to me, when I first saw it, was an absolute surprise of a film. I did not expect it to be that good when I first heard the concept. Keanu Reeves' dog gets killed, so he kills a bunch of men. I didn't buy it. I'm going to be totally honest. And then I saw it after it was out of theaters, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, this was the resurgence of Keanu Reeves in his career, because he'd been spiraling a bit with movies like 47 Ronin. Excellent performance of him, balancing the calm demeanor with the absolute rage, and he just brings that to an absolute head at certain points in the movies, and it was so amazing to see him lose his cool, just show his absolute rage. Loved it. Very simple plot in this movie, because it wanted to be very action-driven, which I really respect. being that the director was a former stuntman, I think that was a very smart move. It also had some incredible action. I mean, that is an understatement. The use of long shots and a lot of practical effects, a lot of realistic action, making you feel very grounded, but also very cool, just brought this movie to life for me, and it is sitting at number 8. At number 7, we have Godfather Part 2. Again, if it's not Aliens, Godfather Part 2 is the greatest sequel of all time, coming off the absolute classic, one of the greatest movies of all time in The Godfather. It is jam-packed with absolutely legendary performances from actors like Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Diane Keaton, Robert Duvall, John Cazale, and so many others. And they had an incredible filmmaking technique by weaving in Michael's rise as the Don of the Corleone family with the rise of young Vito Corleone in the 1910s and 20s. Airtight plot, one of the greatest plots of all time. Felt very real, very gritty, darker than the first Godfather. But I think that's what makes it so good, is that it gives us what really was a true look at the mob life, the state of the mob in the 60s and the 50s with, what was happening with the five families in New York in real life. They did a good job channeling that into this movie. And, I mean, not enough could be said about Al Pacino in this movie. The way he plays Michael, the way that Michael changes from this guy who we loved in the first Godfather to someone who, we kind of want to hate because he's such a bad guy. The change he makes while he's coming to power, the stuff he has to do as Don, it is one of the best performances of all time, and that's why this movie sits at number 7 for me. At number 6, we have Quentin Tarantino's war movie, INGLOURIOUS Bastards. Now, this is a movie that I have a little, I might have a little bias. My aunt was executive producer on this movie, so, I might have a little bias here, but still, I absolutely love this movie, bias aside. It is a very fun concept with the revisionist history approach, something that hasn't been done that much, and especially with someone who's as stylistic as Tarantino, is something that would be very interesting even before you see it. And we see there two very fun, interesting, separate plots with our Bastards and Melanie Laurent's character, and brings them together very well, as well as just an incredible ensemble cast who each get a moment to shine. And then you have the incredible performances from Brad Pitt, Melanie Laurent, and Christoph Waltz, all deserving of Oscars, especially Christoph Waltz, which he did win an Oscar for, I believe. And it is just an incredible movie with some really great action set pieces and an absolutely epic final action set piece that is so fun because of its revisionist history approach. And I love this movie, and that's why it sits at number 6 for me. At number 5, we have SUPERBAD, and now this is without a doubt my absolute favorite comedy movie, and I'm a guy who loves comedy movies. It just features a great buddy performance from Jonah Hill and Michael Cera, who have so much chemistry, like Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, feed off each other so well and just work together so well comedically. They have some absolutely hilarious moments. And not to mention, McLovin, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, absolutely stole the show in this movie with his side plot. He was absolutely hilarious. A 17-year-old kid stole the show. One of the funniest performances of the 2000s. And honestly, I think that McLovin ID probably hangs in the living rooms of at least the majority of college kids in the United States. It is absolutely hilarious with a relatable plot. A relatable high school plot that, I know someone maybe like me has gone through with girls and stuff like that. And that's what makes it so funny, is that it's relatable. So there is just so much to laugh. I laugh every time. My roommate and I absolutely love to watch this movie. And it is something that, it'll never get old for me. And that's why it sits at number 5, and it's my favorite comedy movie. At number 4, we have Die Hard. Now, this was one of the most perfect, classic action movies out there. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I'm just kidding. But if you haven't seen it, you absolutely have to see it. John McClane is one of the greatest action protagonists. No, let me cut that. John McClane is one of the greatest protagonists in film history. He just brings that everyman approach that John McTiernan, wanted, and just the wittiness while still being a badass. It's something that's very different from the action heroes of the 1980s, whether that be from actors like Stallone or Schwarzenegger. So, very different approach that worked out very well. Great direction from John McTiernan, who I believe is one of the most underrated directors of all time. And then, Hans Gruber. Hans Booby. I mean, he's one of the greatest villains of all time. Also introduced us to the late, great Alan Rickman in his film career, which was absolutely legendary, as well as an incredible, airtight plot that moves along so well and has callbacks at the end of the movie that fit really well. Not to mention incredible action throughout. The action starts early and just goes non-stop, which is amazing. It does have little breaks in there to go with some character development with John and Al, our other friend, other cop. But besides that, there's just so much action, which is amazing. And you know what? Not to mention, I can almost quote the whole movie. And so this is why it sits at number 4 for me. At number 3, we have Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Now, look, I have so much sentimental love for this movie. I have so much nostalgia for this movie. I grew up with this movie, I was, 2-3 years old when this came out. I've dressed up as Jack Sparrow for Halloween. I believe I dressed up as Will Turner for Halloween. I can't even remember. I was so young. I've watched this movie countless amount of times, and I still love it. I absolutely adore this movie. This is the one that started it all in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, so let's not get that lost in translation. It introduced us to such a memorable, iconic movie character in Jack Sparrow. Is one of the most iconic movie characters of the 21st century, and had a great supporting cast. Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, Jeffrey Rush, everyone, McNally, everyone was amazing. Pintel and Rigetti, great comic relief. Amazing cast that just propelled this movie. Very amazing, focused plot. That was some of the criticism of the later movies, is that the plot was all over the place. This is a very focused plot that knows what it's doing, and it works very well. It also introduced us to the rich world of pirates that we have gotten to love over the last 15 years. It also introduced us to Hans Zimmer's legendary score. I'm going to do a Top 10 Tuesday on my favorite movie composers. Spoiler, he's number 1. But, I mean, it's just legendary. It's epic. It's fun. There's so many things to love about it. And there's also a lot of fun action in the movie with our little twist of what's happening to the crew. So there's just so much to love about this movie. I love this movie. A lot of people love this movie. And it sits at number 3 for me. At number 2, we have The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, for a while, this was my favorite movie, but we had a little flip-a-doo. We had a little flip-a-rooski recently. Now, this is just such a fun movie to watch. I mean, with electrifying performances from Jonah Hill, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, and so many others. I mean, there's so much to love about this movie. It is absolutely bonkers, insane. And what makes it even more insane is that it's true. And what makes it even more insane on top of that is that they left out so much stuff, because the actual stuff that Jordan Belfort and his Stratonites did was even more obscene. That's what I love about this movie, is that it's so wild, but it's all real. It's a very interesting plot, obviously. This is all based on reality, so all based off a true story. So it is a very interesting story that I have read up on, and they execute it very well. So many fun scenes. Very, very crude movie. If you're not one for curse words, do not watch this movie. But this is a 3-hour movie that never stalls. 3 hours, and I'm watching it, and I feel like no time goes by because I absolutely love this movie. So, I mean, the combination of all of that, it will be always one of my favorite movies, and it sits at number 2. But at number 1, we have Mad Max Fury Road, the perfect action film. Now, I actually made this switch. I told you Wolf of Wall Street was my favorite movie, and I flipped it. This came recently. Honestly, a couple weeks ago, I was watching the movie. I go, you know what? I love this movie. I've always loved this movie. It's one of my favorites. I think it is my favorite movie now. It is the perfect action film. Sorry, Die Hard, you are also perfect, but this is the perfect action film. It has legendary direction from George Miller all around. I mean, it is seamless. And we have to talk about the action. That is that is what you come to see when you watch Fury Road, and it is breathtaking. It is amazing. There are so many words in the English dictionary that I can use, and that's not enough to describe it. The craziest thing is that it's 100% all practical effects. I don't think they used a lick of CGI in that movie for any of their stunt work, any of their practical effects. It was all real. And that's what makes it so amazing, is that in this age, in this world of technology that we have now, the fact that they didn't use it, the fact that they used all practical effects, to this day still blows my mind. You have great performances from Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy, some great character development throughout that movie with their relationship starting as just nothing, building into something where they just work together so well. You have an amazing plot that, again, like John Wick, is very simple, so it can be very action-driven. So you can focus on the action, which is the selling point of this movie. And the cinematography is some of the best that I've ever seen. Some of the best that I've ever seen. The use of colors is incredible. It's just so vibrant. And there's so much to love about this movie. And it is my favorite movie of all time. For now, at least. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section. This is the first Top 10 Tuesday that we had, so I want you to leave some suggestions about other videos that you want me to do. Also, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you so much, and keep on loving movies as much as I do.